All right, good afternoon, everybody. There we go. Can you hear okay in the back? Jim, Patsy, can you hear me? Great. Huh? Welcome, everybody, to 2025 Jaybirds Day here at the Company of Fifers and Drummers Museum. My name is Kyle Forstoff. I am the first Vice President and the Archives Committee Chair of the company and your host for this year's Jaybirds Day. As we get started here, the first thing I would like to do, since this is my first year doing this, is to extend a very, very, very grateful thank you to everybody who helped today. Sarah McCuniff and Roberta Armstead and Bonnie Safirtlu, who helped me organize the day, and then Donnie Mason and his team who helped cook, and then all the rest of the executive committee who have just been helping wherever help is needed. So thank you all very much. Big round of applause for our volunteers today. If you did not get enough food, there is more. So please avail yourself of the food at any point. So we'll begin the formal Jaybird Day ceremony here today. We have 9 honored Jaybirds today. Each Jaybird will receive a certificate and a t-shirt, and you will also receive a logoed mug. But the mugs are somewhere in Nevada right now, so I will see most of you. I will see most of you at Moodus in a couple weeks, so I'll hand those out to you then. And then, if I will not see you, then I'll make sure those get mailed to you. But everybody's going home with a little something today. So, because there are some folks with some, normally I would do this in alphabetical order, but we have some folks with some time constraints. So I'm going to start by introducing Liz Coliani, and she's going to introduce Don and Patty Mason. So come on up. Where's Peter Mason? Pete, come move your drum.
I can't help it, the jam was there.
Very last one.
All right, you guys are going to have to bear with me. I'm a little nervous.
Want a drum roll?
I've known Donnie and Pat for probably about 15 years. A lot of the talking that I'm going to do today is going to be more geared towards Donnie and his involvement that I have seen in the fife and drum community and the relationship that he's had with me and my family. I really haven't known Pat for as long, but over the years have gotten to know her as well. And for our family, we just love them both so much, and it's such an honor to be up here to present them as Jaybirds. So there's a quote that comes to mind when I think about Don Mason. It's good thoughts, good words, good deeds. And while this may be a Zoroastrian motto regarding a path to living a righteous life by cultivating pure intentions, kind communication, and beneficial actions, the first time I heard it was in the movie Bohemian Rhapsody. Freddie Mercury's dad preached it, and it always kind of stayed with me, but honestly, that's where I learned it. And that is what I think of when I think of Don Mason. He lives that in everything that he does for this community, in this community. You guys have to understand what it can be like for an individual who was not born into fife and drum. Even though acceptance is often preached, you guys are a tough bunch to break into if you weren't born with drumsticks in your hand. And I never felt that from Donnie. Donnie, from the get-go, was always very accepting of me, accepting of my kids, and getting them where they needed to be within this community. The first time I met Don, I think was around 2011. My son Ethan was invited to a rehearsal of a junior corps that his pal Phil, they went to high school together, and Ethan wanted to be a better drummer. He met Phil and he wanted to do that. So we went to a Colonel John rehearsal, and we walked in and Donnie was sitting there. And we walked up, and I extended my hand, and I said, "Hi, I'm Liz Coliani. This is my son, Ethan." And he said, "I'm Mr. Mason." And I was like, wow, I'm 41 years old, and he just mistered me. I think he let me call him Donnie about 6 months after that, but it was always Mr. Mason. And I honestly think that my kids have called him Mr. Mason probably up until like last year. Donnie was my son Aiden's first teacher. He started giving Aiden drum lessons at the age of 4 years old. And I remember when Donnie decided that he was going to step back and not teach at Colonel John anymore, and Brendan, his son, was going to take over. Aiden came home, and he was 8 years old, and he said, I'm not doing it anymore. I don't know who this Brendan Mason guy is, but he sure is not as good as Mr. Mason, and I don't want to do it anymore. Which was hysterical. Of course, you know, we all know that Aiden continued and learned from Brendan, and he calmed down because Aiden can be uppity, and that's just who he is. Donnie was the first person to put a fife in my son Ryland's hands. He was 3, maybe 4 years old here at the company, and Ry was like, oh, what's this thing? And Donnie's like, that's a fife. And I actually have a photograph of Donnie holding the fife for Ryland so he could try it out. When my son Ethan decided 2 weeks before he was going to ship off to boot camp that he hated all of us and he didn't want to live in my house anymore, Donnie was the person who was there. He let me cry on his shoulder and told me that I wasn't a horrible mother. He told me that I did a great job for my kids. He always shows up for my kids. He always shows up for all of the juniors. He is a huge proponent of continuing junior fife and drum. He gave new life to our junior fife and drum camp. And as my kids have grown up in this community, he takes the fun poking and, you know, them like imitating his voice, he takes it all in stride. He laughs with them and they love him for that. When Brendan was our nanny for the summer, and I was so worried that Brendan was not going to show up to pick Aiden up from swim practice, because we all know about Mason time, right? Do we? Yes, we do. Donnie said, Liz, make sure Aiden has my cell phone number. If Brendan doesn't show up to pick him up from swim practice, I'll go get him. Well, Donnie is fife and drum. He really is just so much more. He really is good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. And that is why we will always love you, Mr. Mason. Congratulations on this honor, and congratulations back to you. If anybody else has anything to say regarding fife and drum, please come up and talk.
And would anybody else like to come up and say any words about Donnie and Pat? Oh, yeah, come on, Colin, come on. Are you a Mason?
I don't know, it depends on whether I'm late or not. Oh, why does this always happen to me? The teleprompter's broken. That's right, I got this. Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. Yeah, all right. I don't have anything prepared. I tend to just speak from the heart. I want to speak, I think my dad knows what he means to me at this point. The gift that he's given me, the gift that he's given fife and drum, the gift that he has given bass drumming as an art form. But I want to speak to my mom. I never really knew you at the peak of your drumming, but I understand you were a hell of a drummer. I knew you as a woman who empowered her children to reach for whatever they wanted. I knew you as the mother who drove us tirelessly every Wednesday night to Colonel John rehearsal when you didn't have to. I remember my mother who just gave us this beautiful gift of family and togetherness and supporting us in everything. And I know you haven't drummed in a long time, but your spirit still lives throughout. One of the first female drummers to really put herself out there. I understand that there was a man way back who would not take her on as a student because she was a female drummer, and that was unacceptable. And a man by the name of Hugh Quigley said, you know what, I got this. We're not here to celebrate Hugh today, but the things that he did for her, the opportunities that he gave to her, I think we all have to thank him as well. And Dad, I know you're very active in the community right now, really pushing the junior thing, trying to help build this community back up. Mom, you are just as deserving of this award today.
Would anybody else like to speak? If not, then our honored Jaybirds, Pat and Don Mason. Donnie, anything you'd like to say?
I want to see you all at
Junior camp.
Yeah.
Excellent. Next, I would like to call up Bill Towers, and he will do the introductions for Jim Clark, Pete McDougall, and Jen Wick. All at once. We're doing big teams this year.
Yeah, Bill.
Also, while Bill's coming up, if you would like to read biographies of each of our honored Jaybirds, they're up here in two binders. Jaybirds, at the end of the day, if you would like to take one of your pages home, you are welcome to do that, and then the other copy will go in our Jaybirds archives, binders in the archives. So, Bill Tower.
Thanks for everybody for coming out today. My name is Bill Towers. I'm the director of the Marquess of Granby from Granby, Connecticut. And I really wanted to recognize these three individuals who have really historic pasts, from writing books to doctorates, from instructing many junior corps. I've been involved with the Marquess for probably about 8 years now. And these instructors, they show up every Wednesday night. They really connect with our kids. And I'm just really wanted to do something to appreciate them. And I thought honoring them as Jaybirds would be a good idea. And I realized following Liz's speech as she leaves is going to be a very tough thing to do. Could I actually just get the three of them to come on up here? You can come on up, just stand right next to me. I don't have lengthy biographies about of them individually, but what I do have is my wife helped me chat GBT something this morning. So no, really. With a lot of modification. But it is with a full heart and deep gratitude that I stand before you today to offer thanks, not just on behalf of myself, but on behalf of all of us who have been lucky to be part of this journey with the Marquess of Granby Fife and Drum Corps. To Jim, Pete, and Jen, the one who have given so many years of boundless passion to this music and community, I really thank you. You passed down something bigger than any one of us, a legacy of sound, spirit, that echoes through every practice, parade, and performance. Your love of fife and drum is unmistakable. Your standards are high, and your encouragement unwavering. You've helped our children and our young adults find their rhythm, where they have grown into proud and confident performers who will continue the tradition in the fife and drum community. Today, we not honor you, not for just what you have done, but for what you have done for all of us. And from the bottom of our hearts, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, get a picture with them. Would anybody else like to speak for Jim or Pete or Jen? Oh, Sarah McCuniff is heading up.
So, all three, obviously well-deserving people. I wanted to speak in particular about Dr. Clark and the effect he had in MCV. He started as an instructor for our drumline. The arrangements that he developed for both fife and drum made both sections have to develop new muscles to be able to play his stuff. And we kept getting arrangements, fife and drum arrangements from him. And we kept playing them. And when we'd have a period in a parade where we'd play 3 or 4 Clark pieces in a row, we would call it Clark-ageddon. Because we would be exhausted, mentally and physically. But he pushed us, and it was fantastic. Really was very influential in a lot of how the group plays even today. And then to top it off, when we did our Christmas recording, if you've ever heard MCV's Christmas recording, it's my favorite, but it was a collaboration between John Chalia, Jim Clark, and us, and just amazing the work that he does. He's inspiring, and Jim and I are fortunate to be able to call him a friend. So thank you, Jim, for all you've done for us.
Anybody else? Oh, Tishka's coming up. She fifes, therefore she is.
To all three of you. Now I can't see you because of the sun. You were there in the very beginning of my being in fife and drum. Jim was the teacher, the drum instructor for Sergeant Daniel Bissell, but you were obviously somebody who was quite confident and put the standard at a really high level. And I think that was really a good inspiration for the beginning. The two of you, Jen and Pete, you were there, like we're the same age, so we totally were together. One of the things that I wanted to say is that, fife and drum is a family, and you are so kind. And so I think that over the years, we've been able to share in that kindness and share it with the other people in the fife and drum community. So I thought that needed to be noted. So, congratulations. Now we're all Jaybirds together. Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up, Karen, and then Chris after.
Before I was part of the East Hampton Corps, I was part of the Portland Ancients in the 90s. And Pete helped us out with the drum instruction. And there's one thing he did that was very special. He trusted our family with his father's drum for my father when he was trying to be a drummer, but he ended up being our entire color guard the year and a half that he served in the Corps. And I wanted to thank Pete for that trust of that, and also to honor his mom when she passed as well. I want to thank you for that. And the constant encouragement and spirit that you and your brother Bob, and also I want to thank Jen for the encouragement at musters and parades. And Jim, I want to thank you for writing Connecticut's fife and drum tradition, and including poor little East Hampton fife and drum with it. And you follow the tradition of Carl Price when he wrote Postscripts to Yankee Township, and Mr. Price included a whole chapter on the Corps. And I want to thank all three of you, and I love our entire fife and drum family. We're lucky to have each other. Thank you, and thank God for everything.
Come on up, Chris.
I suppose it's no small secret at this point in my life that you all might know that I came into fife and drum through the old guard of all places. I was always fond of telling the kids at junior camp that the first tune I learned how to play on the fife was Empty Pockets because I had to for a show. This genre, this style of music, has changed me in ways that I can't even begin to express. It opened up a sea of creativity. And there are people that I've met along the way who have helped to reinforce that sense of joy and of wonder about these little instruments that we play and these crazy drums wrapped in linen cord that some people like to hit. Jen, I can't even tell you how much I love you. Jen was one of the very first people that I met in this family. She was a huge help to me early on in my life personally and musically. And the inspiration that I got for no other reason other than for the fact of your friendship is just beyond words. I love you so much. People have told me that I was one of the charter members of the Connecticut Valley Field Music. I was there on the ground floor of some of the earliest rehearsals, and then my life took a little bit of a crazy turn, and I had to walk away from this beautiful hobby that we all share. But Jim Clark was there, and he had a vision, and he had an idea for reaching out to people in a style of music that was not so readily represented even in our group. Jim, you are a wizard, and I thank you so much for your contributions to everything that we do. This day reminds us that there are people throughout our family who are so important in sometimes small ways, but always for the greater good, in just huge ways. We are encouragements and we are blessings not only to those that hear us out on the street when we perform in parades, but those young people who look up to us, who we nurture through our passion and through our abilities. I am so proud to call each of these people colleagues and friends, and I celebrate you all. What a wonderful honor. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chris. Hugs all around.
My pleasure.
I'm happy to invite any of you to come say anything if you would like to. Otherwise, yeah, Jim, would you like to come speak for a minute?
I guess I do, because I have so many people that I would like to thank, and I know I can't even among the few people who are here. I hope that those of you who know me or whom I've taught know how much I appreciate and how much I've benefited from that. Can you hear me? I'm trying not to scream into this thing. No! All right. So I am going to talk a little bit to try to appreciate things, because That's what I do, so shoot me later, make fun of me later, as people frequently do in the company of fifers and drummers. But I'm going to try to say something. Do I see Jim and Patsy back there? Yes, you do. Part of the explanation for what I have done in Fife and Drum Corps is my friend Donnie Mason, who I played with since he was just a pup, used to tease me. One night we were driving back from MCV rehearsal, and I said something or other, and Donnie said, "But Jimmy, of course, you don't have a sense of humor." And of course, many people would agree. But I think I might in slightly different ways. So one time I was up at Cooperman's, and I said to Jim Ellis, I don't know if you remember this, Jim, but it was memorable to me. We were tucking a drum head or something, and I said, you know, Donnie Mason thinks I don't have a sense of humor at all. And Jim said, well, I wouldn't say you don't have a sense of humor, but you're very serious. You're serious as a heart attack. And that's probably the key to a lot of what I've done since 1963 in fifes and drums. I was a little 9-year-old boy, and I was, when I got to do my first drum lessons, I just loved it. And I wanted to play a role like Mr. DeStefano did. It was just a terrific thing for me to learn how to do. And I still remember the first time, I tell students all the time, the first time I got the sticks to rebound a little bit and it started to sound like a roll. I remember that very vividly. And hundreds of people I have taught have heard that story, so they know that I remember it. And I like to read books about history, and I was very, very lonely. And now I'm 70, I still read a lot of books, I still love to drum, and I'm still very lonely. So being in the drum corps has helped a lot. And one thing that I really can't forget to do here is to thank my cousin Pete and Jennifer. When we started Connecticut Valley Field Music almost 40 years ago, they were on board very, very early in that process. And as Chris said, I did have an idea that I wanted to do a kind of fife and drum music I wanted to get played. And as Chris said, he's a pretty smart guy, as you know. He was right, there wasn't a lot of this kind of music being played, and I wanted to have people play it. And Jennifer joined just because we like to go to John Kalinowski's house. It's a nice house, so there we were. And she's been a real foundation of that whole group for almost 40 years since we started. And Jennifer is a very, very dedicated teacher. She's a terrific friend. She's one of the people who you hang around Jennifer for a while and you think, gee, I wish I were a better person. I wish I could be more like that, because she's a lot nicer person than I am. And I felt that way consistently for almost 40 years. I'm very, very fortunate to know Jennifer. She's more terrific than you may even think she is. And my cousin, of course, is a McDougall. And his twin brother Bob and his sister Diane are here today. And Pete is too. Pete's been teaching with me up at the Marquis for the last couple of years. And it's an amazing thing to see Pete work with young people. Of course, I taught him 50 years ago. We've been playing together pretty much ever since. So he says that a lot of the things he teaches are similar to the ways that I teach them. But his level of fascination with these young people is just amazing. And it's so wonderful for the kids. And not only did they learn about drumming, but something I've always thought is that it's good for young people to have somebody, at one time, as old as their parents, and now I say as old as their grandparents, or older than their grandparents are, to sort of deal with them one-on-one and to try to be nice to them and to share things together. Because I think there's not as much cross-generational communication as I wish there were in our society. I'd like to thank so many people who are here, and I can't do it individually, but being here at this building, there's one more thing that I can't say more than one more thing, but I'll say just that one. A lot of the reason we have Connecticut Valley Field Music, and a lot of the reason that I'm still in Fife and Drum Corps at all, has to do with this. In 1975, I was asked to play at a little muster in Marlborough, Connecticut, with Kenny Lumley and a couple other guys. And Kenny, I'd always admired Kenny very, very much. Those of you who didn't get a chance to see Kenny drum or hear him drum, you can find the 1967 Deep River Muster record and hear the Mariners on there playing the Whipple for the first time. And John Shelley and I used to agree that's the best piece ever written for fifes and drums. And just the the spirit of that whole performance is the greatest thing. Of course, Kenny was chief drummer. And after a while, they would invite me down here, Kenny and Ed Classy, and Ed Olson, and then later the McGowan brothers. And we would play here on Tuesday nights, I think it was. We did that for a couple of years, and we played some shows at Friday night, Tattoos at Westbrook, and I got to play a lot. Kenny would invite me over to his house, to his little wood shop next to his house over in Deep River, and he was just the best friend and the most admirable drummer, and I just respected him so very, very much, and I loved playing with him, and he made rudimental drumming sound like music. It was like, he was like the Gene Krupa of rudimental drumming. He just played straight stuff, but it was absolutely gorgeous. And that's what I always wanted to do. So when we started Connecticut Valley Field Music, what I wanted to do was to have that kind of attitude that we would have of hanging around and playing music together, and playing traditional music together, and then every once in a while branching out and doing our own stuff. But within that overall spirit. And that's why I've always made the Fifers play about a third of the repertory is Bruce and Emmett quick stuff with high Bs all over the place, because I think that's traditional fifing. You shouldn't lose that. And the drumming is, we play maybe a third of our stuff is 19th century drum beats verbatim. And I never want to lose that. I love doing that stuff. And I think that's the foundation of our fife and drum course. So without Kenny Lemley and Ed Classy and the McGowan brothers, I don't know if I'd still be doing this. Probably I would have dropped out before we even started our corps. And the other person who is also not here is Paul Cormier. When I was 15, I met Paul, and Paul taught me how to play in the traditional style of Redigan and Sturts and Burnsmore. Burnsmore and Sturts both taught Redigan. And I believe, I like music, I like drumming per se. It's not just, you put on a three-cornered hat and you march in a parade and you're an ancient drum corps. But I really like the details of that very, very much. And still my favorite kind of drumming. And Paul taught me all that with infinite patience, and he was one of my very best friends. He used to come over to my house right up until he died last year. For decades, we would hang around together all the time. We used to go to Redigan's house and tell drum corps stories and play with Bob. And all that stuff, a lifetime of this tradition I'm still a very serious person, and all that stuff to me is very serious. I don't have a way to take this music any more lightly than I take the other music that I study. So once again, I'm glad that people out here are going to make fun of me because I spoke too long. But drum corps is very, very important to me, this kind of drum corps. And I care about it a lot. And so many people who are here today, I'd like to thank. And I will, if we go around in a few minutes, because I will. Thank you very, very much.
Jen, anything? No? You good? Jim Clark, Pete McDougall, Jennifer Wick. Oh, Pete wants to talk.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you can.
Put it closer to your mouth.
Yeah, baby.
Okay. A lot could be said. A lot of memories have gone through my head. A lot of memories have come back, looking for pictures for Kyle for the bio and stuff. But there's a quick story I want to tell about Bill who nominated us. All this has made me try to put things in perspective. And Bill did one night up at the Marquis. We were talking about when the Portland Corps and the Bissell Corps started back around the time of the bicentennial and how many members were around and everything. And Jim said that was about 1974. I think of Bill as an old-timer, actually. I see him play with 4 different drum corps. He's running the Marquis, writing wonderful emails, organizing everything, and he just seems to be everywhere and doing everything. So at that point, Jim said 1974 is when Bissell started, and Bill's eyes lit up, and he said, 1974? That's when I was born. So that put things in perspective. So before 1974, I started out in the Portland Drum Corps. I'm sorry, I'm a little emotional because it's a wonderful thing has happened today. Most of the drumline from the Portland Corps is here with me. and we did a lot of stuff together back then, and it tied us together, and we're all still together now. We stay in touch, and I think that just speaks to this whole community, everything that the real old timers started by building this hall. I remember going to a company meeting early before we had the hall, and my dad announced to my brother he was bringing us down to the annual meeting, and he told us that we had to wear our drum corps uniforms. That's not something that a 12-year-old wants to hear. But it was an old-time notion, and that's what Bob did. He wore the uniform down to the company hall meeting. And I can't speak enough about the number of meetings they had and what it took to get this hall. But it's a wonderful thing that we have this and this whole community. And thank you, Bill, for nominating us and recognizing us. And just wanted to speak a little bit about that history, because I think it's important.
Any other words? Jim Clark, Jen Wick, Pete McDougall, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, come back. Wait. Yes, you get your prizes now.
Would anybody like to come up and introduce Terri Lamb, or else I will do it? Nope, then I'll do it. Okay. This is why I have a notebook. Oh, you want to do it, Brian? Come on up. Brian Gibbons, folks.
Well, I'll be available. Hi, Terri. Where's your face? Get up here. Terri.
She's in the back.
Terri, come on.
She's coming.
This beautiful young lady taught me etiquette and a lot of stuff. Patience, for sure. I love her. This is Terri, me and my wife, now named her Annual Jaybirds. Love you.
Thanks, bro. You want to say something? Paula will come up and say something.
Yeah.
You're going to hear it now.
Uh-oh. Threats.
Hello, this is Terri. Terri is a person who does nothing but fife and drum. She has always done fife and drum. She got my kids into fife and drum, who have now grown out of it, and they got me into the fife and drum. This is Terri. If you want to know anything about fife and drum, ask her. If I don't know, I'll make it up.
Come on up, Jeff.
Terri, you're old now. So for those that don't know, Terri Lamb was my corps director when I was a kid in Nutmeg. And I just want to thank you, because I would not have my love for fife and drum if it had not been for Terri Lamb. Terri Lamb taught us fun, bless surfing on trips, sing-alongs, camp trips, and parade after parade after parade after parade after parade, marching around the Elks Club in Groton for 2.5 hours every night, going in circles, going in squares, marching around in the room. March, 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 counter march, 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 counter march. Through all of that, Terri is also, I believe, the longest serving junior corps director in fife and drum.
All right.
And that is not something to take for granted. because the work that I see this person do is incredible. And I just want to thank you for instilling this joy for fife and drum and for encouraging us to do it. And that is why I'm still here.
Vicky, come on up.
It's like, damn, nobody knows me. Nobody's gonna say anything. I'm out of here.
Okay, Terry. Like me, you can have imposter syndrome. It's okay. Terry and I go way back to, well, we were much younger, not so wise, when the Westbrook Drum Corps. I think you came in shortly after I did. 88, yep, it was after I did. But I will tell you, I never saw anyone work so hard to catch up, to be out with us. And what you have done with the young people is something to really be commended. Not everyone has the patience to work with young people, and I'm probably one of them. We admire you for your years of dedication, and I am more than proud to say that I'm your friend. And I look forward to many more years of hanging out with you Saturday night at Westbrook Muster, finishing up Norm's cider.
There you go. It's a secret. It's a secret.
My name's Lisa, and Terry and I go way back. We were in Nutmeg together back in the early 70s. I have so much admiration for her for what she's done in her fife and drum corps career. My father at one time was the director when she was first in Nutmeg. And I know how hard it is, and she's gotten me back in fife and drum corps again after 40 years. And I'm very, very happy for this young woman who is gonna take fife and drum corps and Nutmeg and Westbrook even further. Thank you, Terry. Thank
you. Anybody else for Terry? Terry, would you like to say anything? Terry would not like to say anything. Terry Lamb, everybody.
Love you long time. Very long time.
Love you more.
Okay. Would you like to come introduce your mom? Kara Evans. I'll talk for a second too.
Hello everyone, my name is Kara, and I'm introducing Jenay Evans. I'm just speaking off the cuff, I guess. My mom got me involved in fife and drum when I was 12. I didn't want to play the fife, and so she was the first person who introduced me, and this has really altered the course of my life in a big way. So I could say that she's really important in my life because of fife and drum, not only for being my mom, but also because she put a fife in my hand and I fought with her about it. So that's really important to me. And so for fife and drum, she has really taken sharing the tradition to heart. We, as a corps, we go on these big trips every year and we make them available to all of our marching members, and I've gone to so many places that I would never think to go to, and they've been amazing. We've gone to Mount Rushmore, we've gone to London. This year we went to Utah, and we performed all over the place because of fife and drum, and it's all because of her and her brainchild of starting the corps. Do you want to continue?
Yeah, I'll continue. Thank you, Kara. I will say at the outset that I do not know Jenay that well, but I know Jenay's work very well because as a former member of the Kentish Guards, we would be at a lot of similar events with Bristol County, and I wanted to remark that I always found the swagger and the attitude of the Corps very honorable, very attractive. They always look their best. They have a number of different uniforms that they wear based on whatever the weather's doing, and the Corps always looks its best, and I know that's part of Jenay's vision. The other thing that I particularly want to impress, or say that I'm impressed with, is always the trips, right? We talk about the importance of promoting the community and the music tradition, especially to folks outside of it, and Bristol County really, really embodies that. And I was very interested to learn in the bio info that Jenay sent me that that's actually part of the Corps' mission, is to go out as part of their 501c status, is to go out and concertize and perform and bring this tradition to places where it doesn't normally appear. And as Kara mentioned, there are a number of trips throughout the country and also internationally. So I want to say that that's always been a big thing that, even though I'm not in the Corps, I look at from afar and I'm always very impressed with. So thank you, Jenay, for all that work that you and the Corps do. Would anybody else like to say anything? If not, then Jenay, would you like to say anything? You're good? Okay. Jenay Evans, everybody. All right. Is Tishka still out there? You're up. Tishka will introduce our last two nominees.
Who would you like to start with?
I have to try to see this. I want to do just my own comments and then I'll read it. So I nominated Paula and I nominated Beth Yoder. And one of the reasons is both of these women have been involved in drum corps for decades. I don't want to quite say how many, but they're definitely seasoned Jaybirds, and it was time for them to both be honored. Paula started drum corps in 1956 to 58, and so you can see how long ago that was. And she really has been an integral person in my life. I've known her since I was in Bissell, and well, I was aging out of Bissell and she was coming in as the instructor. And of course, I was way better than her, but she was the one who was doing the teaching. But I'm sure I gave her a really hard time. But that's the way that goes. You know, that's a consistent theme since a really long time ago. But Paula has been an enthusiastic person in drum corps really for the whole time. And I think that, you know, sometimes people don't get noticed because they're kind of in the background people. They don't like to be center stage. And Paula's one of those people. So she's definitely contributed so much to the many different corps and positions that she's been in. You know, she's been a director, she's been an instructor, she's been a bass drummer, she's been a fifer. So, you know, in order to actually speak specifically to the accomplishments, I do want to read her bio so you can hear that. The other personal note, though, is that Paula really has been there for me since I've dealt with all my stuff. So she, you know, she's in the Patriot, she stays with me, you know, she's able to go to rehearsals. We've done a lot of stuff together, but she's also been instrumental in terms of helping me as I've needed over the past several years since I decided that oxygen had to be my new friend. So let me read her bio so that you're able to hear specifically some of the things that she has accomplished. And hopefully I can see this. I started my fife and drum career with Colonel John Chester, 1956 to 1966. I was in our yard when I heard what I thought was a strange sound up the street. I followed the sound and found two boys who lived there, playing the fife and one more fifer and a snare drummer. It didn't take much convincing, and the next Wednesday I was at Colonel John rehearsal joining the corps. I think I marched in the Deep River Parade with a Corps jacket rather than a uniform. By the end of the season, I was marching and playing. I was a member of the Connecticut Yanks 1966 to 1976, minus a year and a half for military service, and from 1977-78, I was a member of the Yalesville Seniors. I also played with Black River when opportunities arrive. Since 1978, I have been a member of the Connecticut Patriots. At the Friday Corps rehearsal of Yalesville Seniors the night before the 1978 Deep River muster, it was announced the Corps was disbanding, though it would be revived a few years later. At first, several people urged the others to continue, but when it became obvious it was of no use, I suggested that those interested in continuing Drum Corps meet at the local pub to discuss possibilities. I was chosen as one of the 3 co-directors, and the following day we marched in the Deep River Muster Parade. In another Corps meeting on that Sunday, I suggested we ask Paul Mayotte, at the time a parent of 2 Fifers and Colonel John, to be our business manager. We met with him and wisdom prevailed as we chose Paul to be our first Corps director, and Paul skillfully worked me into booking parades and then into being director from 1997 to 2013. As an individual player, I won 3 CF&DA Junior Fife Championships, 1962, 64, 65. Was the Junior Northeastern Champion in 65 and the Senior Fife Champion in 66. In 1979, the first full year for the Connecticut Patriots, I switched from fife to bass drum because we had no active bass drummer. I switched back to the fife somewhere around 85, 86. I was also highly active in the administration of the CF&DA, serving as chair of the ensemble clinic for several years, and rotating through the offices of second vice president, first vice president, president, and chair of the executive board. I also served as an ensemble judge, fifes, horns, and glocks for the CF&DA. Massachusetts Fife Drum and Bugle, Hudson Valley, and Northeastern Associations. As fife instructor, I have had the privilege to co-instruct the Colonel John Fife section from 72 to 85, the Nathan Hale Fifes, Sergeant Daniel Bissell, Windsor, and the Patriots. I was also involved in writing stand pieces for both Colonel John and Windsor. I have maintained an active individual membership in the Company of Fifers and Drummers for many years, served as Corps representative for several years, and I also spent several years coordinating the museum docents and giving private tours. What I am most proud of related to Drum Corps, without a doubt, being one of the founding members of the Patriots, bringing Paul Mayotte in as first director, then serving as second director of the Corps. Also, I suppose, just staying active in Drum Corps all these years. Other than Drum Corps, I served on church committees when I lived in Deep River, and after my years serving as church pastor, now retired, I'm chair of my church Open and Affirming Committee in Dennis, Mass., where I also sing in the church choir, and for several years helped the Christian education director as a second adult. I'm an executive committee member of PFLAG Cape Cod, and am active in a number of various forms of transgender advocacy and support in my area. After being one of 16 trans people photographed and exhibited for a project called Transformation, a collaborative portrait series exploring gender identity on Cape Cod by a professional photographer here on the Cape, I arranged for and managed the rotation of the 16 portraits among 7 different Cape Cod churches. You know, one of the things that I want to add to that, and I think it is very important, is that Paula has been accepted as a part of this community and has been in this community since 1956, I think it is. So the fact that to be who she is and recognized for who she is, and to be here, to be safe, and to be able to participate now is just awesome, and it speaks volumes for who we are as a community. What should I do now? Should I do Beth, or should we do them separate?
No, let's do them separate.
Okay, so we're going to stay with Paul. We're going to stay with Paula right now. So if anybody would like to come up and say something, or Paula herself wants to come up, I'm sorry for the pressure, and say something, that would be great.
Colin again, huh?
Yeah. I'm going for the Peter Mason Award. How many times can I go on stage? Don't worry, I got all my good jokes out earlier. First of all, I just want to, before I get to Paula, today is a very special day for me because in addition to my parents, Dr. Clark is the person I understand who empowered my father to break down the kind of bass drum barriers and what the instrument was, and could be. So thank you for that, for giving him that encouragement and the education and the support. It was a lot of fun. And then Jenay, you've welcomed me into your home. You've welcomed me into your drum corps, Bristol County, which I think is a very special, unique organization, putting out a very, very cool thing in this activity. And we're going to wake up January 1st and we're going to be family. I'm really excited to welcome you into that. So congratulations to you as well. My parents gave birth to 4 chaotic, stubborn children. And Paula, you have been family since the day I was born. Where are you? You're over there somewhere. I don't know that we would be what we are without you and your support early on and throughout our lives. So congratulations on this wonderful accomplishment, and thank you so much for everything that you've given us as a family.
Anybody else for Paula? Paula degree, everybody. Would you like to say anything?
I'd like to say a lot, but I get so emotional. I really do. I'll give it a shot. Hi, go that way. I didn't get up to talk when Donnie and Pat were honored, but while I was director, I couldn't have done it without Donnie. He was just incredible. I don't know how many masters we had, 3 or 4, and he was behind every single one of them, frankly, doing most of the work. Yeah, I've known Donnie and Pat since before they were married. I knew Donnie when he was a little brat in the Yanks. And they've just been really great friends over the years. And congratulations on your award. Yeah, I started drum corps in '56. And actually, there are several times when I said I'd had it. That was it. The first time Charlie Poole said that was it, when the Yanks broke up. And I was out of drum corps from October until the next summer when Portland had their muster. And the next week, I was playing a competition with Yalesville seniors. And more recently, a couple different times. When I figured out who I am, well, the Westbrook muster, I looked around and I thought, that's going to be it. Nobody's going to accept me. So it's all over. And the acceptance that I've had is just overwhelming. I can't say enough about that. Love conquers all, Paula. Love conquers all. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Paula agree, everybody.
Okay, I think she's the final person. Beth Yoder, another person I've known for several years. Obviously, I've been in drum corps for several years. I don't even know where this was sometime this summer. I was talking to Beth, and she was really reflecting on her longevity in fife and drum and was really curious about Jaybirds. And she asked me, what do you have to do to become a Jaybird? And, first of all, I said, all you have to do is be 60. And then you're automatically a Jaybird. But what do you need to do to be honored? And so I told her that I would make it happen for her, because she absolutely is one of the people in this fife and drum community that needs to be honored as a Jaybird. Beth has been, she again started as a young child. She was 8 years old, and she got involved, and she's been really into the military bearing, the being a major, being a drill person, and I'll get into her bio. And so that's not your typical person that comes into this forum, but we're trying to really make sure everybody gets recognized, because this is their life and they've been involved for a long time. Beth is probably one of the most enthusiastic people I have ever met. And I always she's a fifer as well as a drum major, but I was in the Connecticut Rebels with her, and her enthusiasm is she exudes enthusiasm. And so when she was interested in really pursuing this honor, I was like an honor to help her in that process. So I'm going to read her bio, and then I'm going to say just a little bit more so we can get some context. So I told Beth that she has to write a little bio for herself and tell us her story. So this is what she came up with as her story. And I just thought it was really beautiful, and it brought tears to my eyes reading it, because it's so Beth. And so if I get a little choked up, it's because it just brings up such a warm feeling. So here's Beth Yoder's bio. I started out as a quiet 8-year-old, escorted by my brother and sister as a fifer in the Grassy Plain Junior Drum and Bugle Corps of Bethel, Connecticut. At 13, I had my eye on color guard and joined the Castaways Drum and Bugle Corps, but they later disbanded, so we turned the color guard into a winter competition guard with the new name, the Royal Guardsmen. After 6 years, we managed to win the Grand National Championship in 1970 in the NEIPA circuit. I forgot what that means, okay. Military bearing became very important for marching and maneuvering. Without thinking about it, I voluntarily coached the younger members on how to get along as a team and work up a sweat. My instructor sent me out to teach other guards in the Connecticut area. I was 18 years old. Upon request, I turned into the traveling instructor, no job too big or too small. In my senior year of high school, my passion led to an ongoing career in drum corps. It was not a goal, it just kind of landed in my lap. I met my rifle partner, the late Sylvia Fava, in 7th grade. Together, we grew as one. Recruiters from the Milford Shoreliners saw us as a duet, and we became members. In 1975, I married Gary Gelati, who introduced me to the Germantown Ancients. We have 2 children, Janelle and Ben. Janelle, later a member of the Young Colonials, worked her way up to fife sergeant, drum major, and then went on to win Best Junior Majorette at the Northeastern States Championship. In 1977, there was an opening as a drum major in the Connecticut Rebels Fife and Drum Corps. After trying out for a few weeks, I became the new majorette. Mabel Hubbard was my predecessor, and she stepped down due to health reasons. I held my spot for 40 years. There were many rehearsals, parades, and competitions. Trips to New Orleans for Mardi Gras, in daytime the Rex Parade, and the Bacchus Parade at night in the French Quarter. Under President Bill Yoder, the Corps went to Germany in 1989. The same year we got married. They named an award after him, the Billy Yoder Award, Longest in Uniform Award. That speaks to the enthusiasm in fife and drum and what else we do at a muster. There is a painting of me in the rebel uniform on the ceiling of the carousel at the Danbury Fair Mall. We marched at the fairgrounds every year. I am in a picture with the rebels in the new book of knowledge of Encyclopedia by Grolier Incorporated. I want to stop here for a second. This book is right over here, and you can see the different pictures that she's referring to, and it's pretty cool to see. You know, it's both the one that she just referred to and then a bunch of pictures of the rebels. Okay, I enjoy advertising about drum corps and giving back to my community. The Scholastic newspaper wrote an article and picture about my involvement in drum corps. I had the opportunity to work with the young colonials of Carmel, New York. All members were sent to color guard for drill. That was their first introduction to military bearing. Learning interval, alignment, distance, position of instruments, everything uniform, and how to march and play at the same time. I have watched them all grow up and learn the repertoire, compete and write their own pieces, and then march off to West Point, the Old Guard, and Disney World. This is something I know that Beth is particularly proud of because she really feels like she's been instrumental in terms of helping people to become who they are and to be able to really develop their talents in the fife and drum world and beyond. It has brought tears to my eyes knowing that they had connections with the late Ken Green. The students had the opportunity to go to the University of Louisiana. I had a wonderful experience guiding them through IDQs, that's individual, duet, and quartet, winning musket, rifle, flag, and baton manuals at the Northeastern. These youngsters turned into fine human beings, musicians, and teaching careers. I suggested that the company prayer be in the student music book, a great way to start the day. I still found time to be an associate member with the Danbury All-Male Drum Corps and was the first woman to join the color guard. Later, I became a cymbal player for over a decade. I was also the only woman on the judging staff at the New York City St. Patrick's Day Parade. I have also been a drill instructor in the New Fairfield Sparklers and have been a judge for both the Tri-State and Northeastern Associations. I have learned one thing for sure, and that is that there are many bumps in the road, but be true to your heart and you will always land on your feet. It's about self-satisfaction and the ability to convey to others how you were successful. I have had the pleasure of marching with the Civil War troopers. Since then, we have merged with the regulators to become the Rough Riders. They are dedicated to their music and have outstanding showmanship. I am honored and speechless that I was invited to major for this impeccable fife and drum corps. I thought that was a beautiful, writing that she did. One other thing I want to say is that a lot of us older people have been involved with the fife and drum competition side of things, and that really speaks to some of Beth's level of expertise, but that is also one of the things that helped to bring the standard up, which has totally shifted over time because the standard is just there at this point. But there was a different mindset with that community, and all those people are still here. There's a lot of people that have came up in the fife and drum, the CF and DA, and did the competition circuit, which was very involved and very competitive, and really did forge some very interesting relationships. But Beth, I was very honored to honor you, and congratulations on being honored as a Jaybird. Thank you.
Thank you, Tishka. Anybody else like to come speak for Beth? Beth, would you like to come talk? Okay. Oh, Bill Hart says, hold up.
Beth, congratulations. It's well deserved. My experience with Beth was when I was in the Connecticut Rebels briefly with Tishka. I say briefly, it was about 3 years. It was like amongst the most intense 3 years of my entire life because the Connecticut Rebels were an incredibly passionate bunch, which meant they were constantly at each other's throats. Beth, however, was always in a good mood. She was never giving anybody a hard time, but when it came time to step off, she was as professional as you can get as a major. And lots of us strive to try and be professional in our approach to drum corps. Beth Yoder was an absolute professional when the parade started and it was time to go. So, congratulations again, Beth.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, youngsters and yoldsters. Youngsters and oldsters. Beth is, I think, absolutely one of the most professional people that I know. And I think that a lot of people in this crowd would agree that it was very uncommon to join a corps simply to be under a certain drum major's command. But I was in several corps, Germantown being one of them, and left Germantown, and I wanted to just be part of something bigger and better as Germantown was dwindling, not to abandon ship. But Beth was absolutely the deciding factor of my deciding to join that B Corps, because she's the best. She is. When it comes to being a drum major, that's all there is to it. And I am a, as of now, inactive member of the Rough Riders, and joined them before they stopped becoming, after they were the regulators. And she's switching spots as far as drum major with Joseph Cuccia. And Joseph Cuccia is the second best drum major that I have ever marched under. And guess who taught him?
All right, Beth.
Beth. You did it. So I can't even imagine why it's even taken this long for her to be accredited with this title. But I just want to congratulate her and let everybody know how much I and so many other people appreciate her. I think that's it.
Hi, I'm Janelle. I'm Beth's daughter. I didn't prepare anything. I didn't know this was a thing where you can speak. But, and her bio pretty much said everything I was going to say. But I was born into drum corps, obviously. Both sides of the family, generations. My mother lived, slept, eat, breathed drum corps, which meant we all did. That was our life. Drum corps was our life. We grew up here, coming here after the musters. She taught me to be a majorette. She taught me everything. And she pushed me. And the first time I was in the Northeastern for majorette, I won. And I was 14 years old. And I owe that all to her. And I was going to bring up the encyclopedia because one day I opened the encyclopedia and I looked up the word parade, and there is a picture of my mother. And we grew up with the Danbury Fair carousel with her picture, and me and my brother would get under the carousel and we'd sit underneath Mom's picture and ride the carousel, and that was pretty cool. I think that's it.
Oh, one more jump.
Well, I've known Beth since teenager. Before we were both teenagers. She was one of the, I'm not gonna say older kids. She was slightly older, so the older kids we always looked up to, and still looking up to her. And we're back in the same corps again, and I'm just very glad that I'm still marching with you with your leadership. Thanks for being there.
Thank you, John. If there's nobody else, Beth Yoder, ladies and gentlemen.
Come on, Beth.
Okay, that concludes the formal part of the day. If you would like to continue jamming, we will do that. I encourage you to get some dessert. If all the Jaybirds would gather up here real quick at the end, let's get a group picture together, and then you can continue about your day. We'll start gently cleaning up as things clear off, and when you're done jamming, we will go home. Otherwise, we will see you back here on the first Saturday. I believe that's October 3rd next year.
Don't
and
forget
then
the
we'll hop
50-50.
back on here in about a half an hour and do the 50-50 raffle. So, all right, have fun, make more merry. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations to all our Jaybirds. Come on up for a group picture real quick, and then we'll continue hanging out.